Mhm. Hello, friends. I am PK Mutch, founder and publisher of LiisBeth Media, and this is my November Viewpoint. November is Global Entrepreneurship Month, and November 19th was Women's Entrepreneurship Day. As an entrepreneurship geek, I spent a lot of time this month attending seminars and thinking about entrepreneurship, its role in society, what entrepreneurship might look like in a future world where UBI is the new normal. And one thing I noticed this month, while the entrepreneurship ecosystem acknowledges that there are many kinds of entrepreneurship, tech entrepreneurs, social entrepreneurs, nonprofit entrepreneurs, cooperative entrepreneurs, and collectives, and so on, we rarely ever hear or talk about the norm entrepreneur. In fact, I never even heard it mentioned once this month. And I actually haven't heard it mentioned often in the ecosystem either. According to Wikipedia, a norm entrepreneur is someone interested in challenging and changing social norms. Harvard Law professor Cass Sunstein originally coined the term in his 1996 paper titled Social Norms and Social Roles. He later expanded upon this idea in his more recent book. So let's talk a bit more about norm entrepreneurs. From my lived experience, I have noticed a few trends. First, norm entrepreneurs, or activist entrepreneurs, as I sometimes call them, are called to entrepreneurship not by market opportunity, but by some sort of snap, some sort of critical event, a moment that screamed in their life, this is enough. But often when they share their ideas, they are discouraged because people tell them, how can you change the minds of millions of people? But norm entrepreneurs believe that social norms are more fragile than most people would think. And they believe that with a little effort, things really can change. These entrepreneurs are truly full of hope. Now, let's talk about their unique entrepreneurial journey. Norm entrepreneurs think in terms of community building and not in terms of customer acquisition. Next, they conceive of their role as lead caretaker and employ a leaderful approach, not a chief operating CEO or president approach. And while most entrepreneurs ignore governance structures, norm entrepreneurs, by necessity, as leaders of communities, see this as a priority endeavor and a key lever for innovation. Unlike other entrepreneurs, norm entrepreneurs deal with extraordinary financial and operational complexity, as their business model often requires them to traverse private, civil, and public sectors. Norm entrepreneurs will often create what I call imaginariums. These are generative, safe community spaces, online or offline, where followers, supporters, curious folks, and members can connect, nourish each other, learn, debate, and collaborate on related ideas or initiatives. And finally, my last observation, well, it may not be my last, but the last one for this particular episode, the shelf life for norm entrepreneurs is often tragically short. First, going against the social grain adds extra weight to the typical entrepreneurial journey, and it leads to significant burnout. Also, success may mean your work is done. The new norm is out there. Letting go and moving on can be difficult. If you don't know any norm entrepreneurs, or you don't think you know any norm entrepreneurs, here are a couple of examples. Alicia Garza, Patrice Cullors, and Opal Tomeni, who started Black Lives Matter in 2013. At first, it was a small, informal organization that mounted campaigns and street rallies against racism and police brutality. Today, it is a charitable foundation that generated $90 million in 2020. Norm-centered enterprises can scale surprisingly fast in the right circumstances. Another example is Vicky Saunders. Saunders started SheEO in Canada to challenge dominant investment narratives and metrics, norms that choked off access to capital for women entrepreneurs. The organization started with 10 women who signed up to participate in a workshop. Today, it operates as a nonprofit that has over 7,000 activators around the world and operates in 5+ countries. It has changed the narrative and women's entrepreneurship policy in Canada. Finally, one more. Carol Ann Hilton, an Indigenous woman from British Columbia, Canada. Carol Ann Hilton noticed that the Indigenous economy was overlooked and suffered from underinvestment. So she worked to establish hashtag Indigenomics, growing from a single hashtag to an entire movement that focused on the rebuilding and strengthening of Indigenous economies. Hilton eventually turned her informal movement into a nonprofit institute called Indigenomics, which is focused on providing economic advisory services for public governments, Indigenous communities, and the private sector. I could go on. Okay, so November, we all know, was a real stormy with a side of meatballs kind of month. Europe is coping with the fifth wave and low vaccine rates. British Columbia is in a state of emergency, and COP26 left us just short of higher ground globally. Our institutions, leaders, and elites, for the most part, are failing us. As Leslie Crutchfield, author of How Change Happens, Why Some Social Movements Succeed and While Others Don't, says, the change rises to the top, not the other way around. And if we truly want to change the world, we need more norm entrepreneurs, and they need more followers, both individual and allied institutional and private sector players, to both fund and get behind the work that they do. This is PK Mutch, and this is my November viewpoint. See you in December to share with you a holiday message. Take care.